Today what I'm looking at to do is something a little bit different. I really miss potatoes, but I'm not eating them right now. So I came up with the idea to do hash browns out of butternut squash. I know they're not quite like potatoes, kind of like a sweet potato in a way without that texture. But so what I did was I just peeled the neck of a butternut squash, nice and fresh, and then took a chef's knife and cut it into about, 1.5 to 2 inch sections. The idea is I wanted it to be small enough to hold on to it easily and to be able to grate it using a box grater. So it actually grates pretty easily. Of course, you want to make sure you don't catch your fingers on the box grater. You can do this, I'm sure, in a food processor, which I thought about after I did it, but I'd already done it with the box grater. It was easy enough to do. It takes a little bit of muscle, but as long as you go along the fiber of the squash, it's not bad to try to do it all. You end up with quite a bit. As it grates, it gets to be a pretty good volume of squash to be ready to do hash browns with. So I finished up what I was going to do with the squash. If you notice, I have little pieces left because I really didn't want to take my knuckles off with the box grater. You can use those to cook and have later. I thought that some green onion would go really well with it, so I just took a few green onions, chopped them up. Here you want to be careful. If you'll notice, my fingers are curved back a little bit so I won't chop off the ends of them. And to get a good knife action going, if you notice using a larger knife, I'm just rocking the blade on the cutting board. Makes it a lot easier to cut quickly and safely. And safe is the big part of it there. So I wanted to get the squash to be binded a little bit, right? To bind the squash a bit. So I just beat one fresh egg with it. Doesn't have to be overbeaten. No secret to this here at all. But just beat the egg, and we're going to put it in with all the squash and with other ingredients, and then just make hash browns right out of the whole thing. So that's the amount of squash, if you can see, that I got from it, probably about 3 cups of squash. And I had dried it out a little bit by putting it on paper towels. That it does help to dry it a bit. If you can let it sit out for a couple hours, that's great too. Otherwise, it's just really moist, and even though it cooks just fine, it's nice to have it a little bit drier. So in with the green onion and the egg, I added some salt and pepper, sea salt, freshly ground black pepper, stirred up the whole bit with a spoon, and that's really all the ingredients that there are for this. Makes it really quick and easy and simple. So once I got it all stirred up, I didn't want to really put my hands in it with all the egg and everything, so I put on some nitrile gloves, latex gloves you can use also. Then I got a cookie sheet with parchment on it. Parchment keeps it from sticking. I'd been told not to use one of the silicone pads, but I don't know that it wouldn't work okay with that too. But the parchment apparently gets a little bit crisper, and you want to spray it with just a touch of vegetable spray, Pam, whatever your favorite is for that. So I just made it into kind of a hash brown patty that I thought was a reasonable serving size. It ended up they were about 2 ounces each, or just under, which meant 2 of them would be a good serving. So you just spread them out on the parchment. The oven's already on at 400 degrees, all ready to go, warmed up, and I've got the oven rack right at about the middle of the oven to be ready for it. So this made about 5 of them all together. Obviously, if I'd done larger squash or more squash, I could do more. Could do a couple cookie sheets. If I did 2, I would put 1 below it, and then halfway through cooking, I'd go ahead and just swap them out. So after they're on the cookie sheet, they can go into the oven. There they are, obviously on display. Don't they look grand? There they are in the oven. And you can see we're at 400 degrees. And they're going to sit there for about 12 to 15 minutes. And Notice the edges are nice and brown now. You don't want to get them too dark. You're going to want to watch them from burning. What I'm doing here is I'm adding some short ribs that were really great. You can serve it with just about anything. Okay. This is just another simple side dish that's really easy to make, very few ingredients, and it tastes great. Here are the ingredients. If you try them, let me know. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.